Hello, welcome to more yoga with me, Emily. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you're doing well and ready to get into the chest, neck, and shoulders a little bit. And who isn't? Let's be honest. And anytime I ask for a request in a yoga class, usually someone like rubs their neck or asks for chest or sorry, neck and shoulders. And to that, today, it's going to be really useful if you have a strap. If you don't have a strap, I guarantee you have a belt in your house or a towel or a broomstick that you could use, right? It doesn't have to be cloth. It doesn't have to be flexible. It could be something solid, like a dowel or, as I said, a broomstick. So go ahead and grab something like that because it's going to really help us get into the, as I said, chest, neck, and shoulders. We'll do a little bit of upper back too, just to counterbalance that. But most of us are quite tight here, right? Does this look familiar? Typing on a computer all day? Okay, so once you have your strap, come on down to the mat. We're going to start lying down. And depending on how your body feels today or how your day has been, you might need to take some time to get some wiggles out or little, little niggling kinks or anything like that. I always hesitate to use that word because of the double meaning, but there you go. Knots, maybe knots, I don't know. To maybe take a little loop of your shoulder blades toward each other on your back. And maybe your legs are outstretched, or maybe like mine, they're bent. If so, take your feet wider than your hips and allow your knees to hang in toward each other so the thighs can rest. So you don't have to use any muscular activation to keep the legs lifted. And then once you've found a position that you can be comfortable in for a few minutes, then for 3 breaths, inhale through your nose and exhale, sigh. Your breath rate, really exaggerate. One more. And then return to your natural breath or continue breathing however you need to, either in and out through your nose or your mouth. Ideally through your nose, right? It's less irritating to your throat. It slows the breath down, filters the breath. But I get it. Maybe you're feeling a bit stuffed up, or maybe it's just better to breathe through your mouth right now. Then just breathe however you need to breathe. The most important thing is to breathe. And I just noticed myself taking a really deep breath, and there's no need to deepen your breath here. In fact, as much as possible, can you just try to maintain a natural breath? Although, for sure, generally, once we start to focus on the breath, it will slow down a little bit or deepen even. And thoughts may come and go. And when you notice your mind starting to wander, and because it will, it happens to all of us, make it simply, not simply, but acknowledge whatever thought you might be having without judgment. Right? But then let it go, and then bring your focus back to your breath. Last few moments here. And then when you feel ready, start to bring a little bit of movement back into your body, whatever way feels best for you to wake up. A little wiggle of the fingertips or toes, or a big yawning stretch. And then interlace your fingers. Start to press your palms back behind you overhead. Elbows can be bent or straight here. They don't, whatever works best. And you might point your toes and lift your low back off the floor, and then press it down. See how that feels along the sides of the body. And then flex your toes back toward your shins. Lift your low back and press it down. And then draw your knees in toward your chest and take a little rock from side to side. I get it. Some of us with larger thighs or bellies, it might not feel great to have the knees, quite close together. So you could take them a bit wider, right? If you're pregnant, especially, take the knees a bit wider. Give yourself that space. It doesn't matter where they are, right? And then pause in the center here. You might stay here with one hand on each leg, or you might interlace your hands over top of your thighs or grab the shins. Grab one wrist with the other. Right, so you might start to feel a little bit of a deepening compression on the front of those hips. And just as long as it's pain-free, it's not a bad thing. It just triggers the synovial fluid to start flowing a little bit more. Maybe you stay here. Maybe you gently curl your nose toward your knees. Again, the knees can be wide. They don't need to be together. Last option, maybe you press your shins up to the sky, getting a deep rounding through the spine, a little bit of a release through the upper back and neck. And then come on back down to the earth. Release your legs, shake them out. You might even reach them up to the sky. Knees don't have to be straight. In fact, I recommend them being at least micro bent. You could point and flex your ankles or toes. You might reach your arms up to the sky as well. If so, make sure you're not like reaching, right? Let the shoulder blades drape back to the earth. So the back of the shoulders are totally grounded. Any kind of movement that feels good here. All right. And then you might grab the backs of your thighs and start to rock and roll up and down your spine. For some of you, this is going to feel awesome. For some of you, it won't feel great, in which case roll to one side using your hands and then press yourself up. And we'll meet on hands and knees. So take your time getting yourself set up. But eventually, we'll meet with knees underneath hips. Toes can be tucked or untucked behind you. And then hands outer shoulder width apart or wider. Let's start to move through cat and cow. So as you inhale, lift the tailbone, hollow through the lower back, broaden through your collarbones. And then exhale, tuck your tailbone under, round through the spine. Really press the floor away from you. And then inhale, dip the belly into cow. Exhale, round your spine into cat. So a few more of these on your own time, on your own breath. And if there's any other movement here that would feel good, feel free to add on. Maybe it's just a little wag of your tail from side to side. Maybe you send your hips further back toward your heels. Maybe you take big barrel rolls through your chest or shoulders. And go wherever you need to go. And then come back to center. A little draw of belly button to spine. And then tuck your toes and lift your hips up into downward facing dog. Now, I know for some of you, downward facing dog isn't going to work for very long or at all, in which case, stay on your hands and knees and extend one leg back behind you and then the other. Otherwise, if you're here with me in downward facing dog, bend one knee and then the other, sort of pedaling the heels towards the earth, getting a nice release into the back of the legs, hopefully. And maybe take a little wag of your tail from side to side here. And then press the floor away from you a little bit more. Hug your upper arm bones toward each other. All right. And then come down to hands and knees. Give your hands a little shake out, your wrists. And then we're going to come on uh, into a new shoulder stretch that I just learned, onto the backs of the forearms. You want to try and keep your thumb side down, which if you're quite tight, which apparently I am on this one side, is going to be trickier than not. And it might not feel like much here, but you want to start to walk your feet back and extend the hips back as well. You might rock a little bit from side to side. You might feel this now in the armpits, and the shoulders, the upper back. And then slowly come back forward, and then step to the top edge of your mat into your standing forward fold. If you want more support today, maybe you bring blocks underneath your hands or even rest your elbows on your thighs. You could clasp opposite elbows with hands to get more traction through your spine. Maybe you sway a little bit from side to side. Go wherever you need to go. As long as there's a micro bend in your knees or even a deep bend, particularly if you have low back tension these days, don't straighten your legs. That just generates more tension in the lumbar spine. And then release your hands, bring your fingertips to your shins. Inhale, little partway lift. Exhale, let it go. Two more, just like that, just to even out the blood pressure. Back of the neck stay as long as you lift up. Back of the knees stay micro bent. All right, and then bend your knees. Tuck your chin into your chest. Slowly start to roll up to standing. One vertebra at a time. Slow as you need to go, till eventually you come all the way up. Keep rolling if you're rolling, otherwise if you're up, take a couple loops of your shoulders, up, back, and down, for a little wiggle, noodle, or shake out. All right, feet hip width apart-ish. As soon as I stand here, my knees lock out, so I'm going to remind myself to keep my knees micro bent. Tailbone to the earth, shoulder blades on your back. On your inhale, I want you to sit into your chair pose, so hips go down and back. Make sure your hips are so far back that when you look down, you can see your toes or maybe even de-weight them, right? If the knees are forward of the hips, you're going to put a lot of tension into the knee joints, so hips go back. It's a much more functional position, right? Like you're sitting into a chair. And then arms to cactus. Wrap the shoulder blades toward each other. Inhale here. As you exhale, round through your spine. Tuck the tailbone under. Imagine your friend a big bear hug. Inhale, come back up. And exhale, round. Right, so it's not just the arms reaching forward. You want to round through your spine as much as you can. One more. All right, and then stand all the way up. Shake it out a little bit. Let's take a little twist from side to side. And then grab your strap or your dowel or whatever you're going to be using. And then palms facing back. Take a nice wide grip on the strap. For those of you who do weightlifting, it's kind of like your snatch grip. You want the strap more or less at your hip crease to start with. That's generally a nice starting position. Sorry, lost my train of thought. And then if you have something flexible like me, you want tension on the strap the whole time. If you have a solid thing like a broomstick, make sure there's just tension on the dowel. And I'm going to turn sideways, squeeze the bum, belly button to spine, nice tall posture. Inhale, lift the strap up overhead. Now, as soon as we do this, we kind of tend to dump into it. So squeeze the bum, like knit your lower ribs to the pelvis, and then maybe you start to bring the strap back. See how that feels? You might pause there. You might start to go all the way back. And then for a lot of people, it's going to be better to let go of the strap here, bring it back forward, and then just keep going backwards. But maybe it's okay for you to come all the way back and forward. So a few of these. Now, at any point, if you feel like your elbows have to bend, to do this or it's really tight, then take a wider grip on the strap, and that'll give you a lot more space through the shoulders. If, however, you feel like, whatever, I didn't even feel anything, then take a narrower grip, and then I guarantee you'll feel something. So a few more of these. It's called shoulder flossing, and it's working the entire range of motion of the humerus in the glenohumeral joint, right in the shoulder joint. Really tall posture as you do this. It's one of the best things that you could do for your shoulders, even a little bit every day or a few times a week will help you keep that mobility. All right, shake it out. And then take a slightly narrower grip, maybe for most people. Think outer shoulder width apart. So like your downward facing dog grip, and then reach the arms up overhead. Again, for the weightlifting crew, it's like your clean and jerk grip. And then wrap your shoulder blades toward each other. Tension on the strap. Nice tall posture, right? So again, we're not dumping into the low back. And then tension on that strap. Bring the strap back down behind to the nape of the neck and lift it back up. So pull aparts, right? Especially if you have the feedback of something flexible. Make sure that you've got tension on the whole time. You want to fire up the outer shoulders here just a little bit, because sometimes it's easier to release muscles if we fire them up first so that we can feel them. Couple more of these. Don't have to do many till you start to feel it, I think. All right, and then shake it out. All right, and then whatever sort of grip feels good, I'm going to stick with pretty much the same one that we just did. And then inhale the strap up overhead. All right, long through the body, long through the spine. Lift a little bit taller if you can. And as you exhale, start to pull over to the left. You might shift your weight over to the right a little bit. Now pull down with that bottom hand, but resist with the top arm. Do you feel that in that top armpit? And then scoop the bottom arm forward a little bit. Spiral the upper armpit open to the sky a little bit more. And then bend your knees, tuck your tailbone under. Same thing that we did in chair pose almost. Round through your spine, but you're going to pull over to the left. And then inhale, come all the way back up to the center. Shake it out, get the blood flow back to your arms. Whew. And then we'll do the opposite side. So inhale up, nice and long. Exhale over to the right this time. You might shift your weight over a little bit more to the left. And as much as you're pulling down with the bottom arm, resist with the top arm. It can be a lot of work, a lot of sensation. You can hear that in my voice, right? And then again, think of scooping that bottom armpit forward as you lift the top one up a little bit more. Keep breathing. And then bend your knees, tuck your tailbone under, round through the spine, pull over to the right. And then inhale, come all the way up, shake it out. Whew. Okay, I don't know about you, but this feels awesome for me right now. I think my shoulders and my chest really needed it. Take your strap or whatever you're using, and you're going to bring it behind your back this time. So palms can face forward or back. It doesn't really matter. And I think probably a grip that's just a little bit, maybe hip width or a little bit wider, like outer hip width, is going to be a good place to start. And I'm going to turn sideways. Bend your knees, wrap your shoulder blades toward each other. Keep your strap on your sacrum to start with, or your dowel, and then come into your forward fold. So knees a little bit more bent maybe than you normally would. And then from here, get all those activations going through the upper body. So wrap your shoulder blades toward each other, right? You don't want your shoulders dipping forward. And then you might start to, with tension on the strap, lift it away from the sacrum, or maybe up to the sky, or maybe even forward. Now here you can play with the width between your hands, right? It might feel better to take a wider grip. It might feel better to have a narrower one. And then make sure the shoulders don't dip forward, right? Keep that retraction of the shoulder blades toward each other. You could sway a little bit from side to side. You could be still. So for sure, you're getting a hamstring stretch here, but also chest and shoulders. Okay, and then gently bring the strap back to your sacrum. Pause there. Notice if your palms are facing down right now, then switch them to palms facing up or the opposite. Grip, unless you know that it's not going to work on your body for whatever reason. And then activations again, wrap the shoulder blades toward each other, tug on the strap, pull apart, and then maybe start to lift away a little bit, a lot. Maybe lift forward or reach forward, but again, without letting the shoulder blades dip forward. And this might feel different with a different grip, or it might feel pretty similar. Last couple breaths here. All right, and then bring the strap down and then off to the side. Let's do a couple partway lifts. Inhale, partway lift, exhale, let it go. 2 more. All right, charge your legs. Inhale, sweep all the way up to the sky. Oh, hello, hamstrings. Exhale, hands to prayer. Whew. And then give yourself a second. If, like me, you're feeling a little bit dizzy after being in that forward fold for so long, shake out your arms, shake out your legs. Let's get a little bit of upper back because we've done a lot of chest just to slight balance it out. So from here, sweep your right arm under your left, grab the back of the shoulders, and this might be enough for you. Some of you might start to fold your forearms toward each other, or even wrap the fingers into the palm for the full eagle bind. Wherever you are, think of lifting your elbows as you drape your shoulder blades down your back. And if your palms are touching, you might start to pull the hands away from your face, getting a little bit more into your neck. And then bend your knees. Start to pull the elbows forward as you round through the spine. You might stay up high, or you might round further forward, depending on where the tightness is in your back. And then inhale, come all the way back up, unwind, shake out your arms. And then we'll go to the opposite side. It's subtle, but there is a difference. So this time, left arm comes under right. Again, you might stay here. Right, different side. Maybe you have a weird shoulder injury and it feels better to go like this. Maybe you bring the forearms together, or maybe there's a grab of the palms. Belly button to spine. Lift the elbows, shoulder blades glide down. And again, if the hands or forearms are touching, then pull the hands away from the face. If you have the shoulders, don't worry about that. And then bend the knees, pull your elbows forward, round through the spine. Again, you might stay up higher, you might round a little bit further forward, or even all the way, getting more into the lumbar spine. And then inhale, unwind, shake it out, through the arms up to the sky. Exhale, forward fold. Fingertips to shins, inhale, a little partway lift. Exhale, fold, bend your knees. Plant your hands, come down to hands and knees. And then shift your hips on one side so you can swing your legs forward. Let's take a little windshield wiper of the legs. And then we're going to get into the neck before we come down to the earth. I'm going to sit up on something, but just find a seated position that works best for you. You could have your legs that stretch. You could sit crisscross applesauce. You could do the sort of heel tuck thing that some people do in yoga. You could sit up on your shins, or whatever's comfortable. Wherever you can have a long spine. All right, so lift nice and tall. And as you exhale, just gently bring your left ear to your shoulder. Keep your face sort of straight, flat on. Make sure you're not rounding through the spine, it's just through the neck. If you'd like more, you could reach the right fingertips away from you. Maybe you gently add the weight of the left hand to your head. Again, without yanking or pulling. And those shoulder stretches and side body stretches that we do, I like doing them, I like sort of alternating between the strap and the dowel if you have the option. And they can feel quite different. You get a slightly different feedback from when you're using something solid to something flexible. All right, maintain this lateral flexion. Rotate your nose toward your shoulder. Tuck your chin under a little bit more. And then come back to the first stretch. From here, tuck your chin under a little bit and then look up to the sky. You might start to feel this now into the front of the neck, and it's a little bit subtle, a little bit tricky to get into, but it's the slight tuck of the chin, the pressing back of the head, and then lift. And it's getting into what's called the sternocleidomastoid. And it's that one of those big muscles that can bear a lot of tension. All right, and then release your chin to your chest. Take a couple little half moon circles, a little head bobble, loops of your shoulders up, back, and down. And then let's do all three of those on the opposite side. So bring your right ear to your shoulder, right? So just keeping the face pointing forward. Maybe you reach the left fingertips to the floor. Maybe you gently add the weight of the right hand to the head. As always, it's super normal for one side to feel tighter than the other. So if that's the case, congratulations, you are human. All right. Maintaining this lateral flexion, rotate your nose toward your shoulder, tuck your chin under a little bit more. So moving more to the back side of the neck, but still on the left side. It's not fully back, it's just a little bit more posterior. And it's also normal to feel this down your shoulder and into the upper arm of it. Right, there's so many muscular attachments in this area. All right, and then bring your head back to that first position. Tuck your chin under slightly, and then turn your head up to the sky. Right, little chin tuck, little look up to the sky on an angle. Again, maybe feeling this in the front of the neck on the left side. It's a tricky one. If you don't feel it, don't worry about it. And then release. Chin to chest. A couple little half moon circles. Loops of the shoulders up, back, and down. A little wiggle, noodle, or shake out. And jeepers, there we go. Okay. If you would like to make your way down onto your back for your final resting pose, please feel free to go there or any other position that will suit you. I'm going to stay here in this sort of seated meditation. And if that works for you, then awesome. And then there's no rush to get there. But once you have found your final resting pose, for a few breaths, inhale through your nose. And exhale, sigh your breath away. Couple more. And then continue breathing however you need to, whether it's in and out through your nose or your mouth. And let go of your breath control, though, if you can, and return to your natural breath. Let go of any last muscle gripping or tension, particularly in the belly, the neck, or the jaw. As each exhale, let your body melt a little bit deeper into the earth. And again, thoughts may come and go. Acknowledge them without judgment, but let them go. And let them drift by you like leaves on the wind. And stay here longer if you can, 5 or 10 minutes. Thank you so much for joining me today. Namaste.